Hello, and welcome to another episode of Choppin It Up. I am CrunkChocolate, and this is on Patreon. Obviously, the first 15 minutes, if you're listening on public, you're like, this isn't Patreon, but we let the first 15 minutes fly free so you guys can understand the amazing content that we have out available for you. So then you go subscribe to our $6 tier of Patreon where you get 20 plus hours. And when I say plus, it's close to 30 how we go at it, especially with us covering City men and women. We do match previews for them and bring on great, amazing guests like our guest today for Chopping It Up. We've had on just last week Derek Ray. That was a really exciting conversation. So yeah, check us out. Hope you enjoy. But today, right now, 9320, stand up. Manchester, stand up. We out here. It's just real nice being able to chat with a fellow Blue. First time having him on, so you know I'm thrilled. Shady Gang, give it up for Lloyd Scragg. How's it going, my friend? How's it going?
Yes, mate. Doing well. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yes, of course. And the easiest question that we love to start off with is, how did you fall in love with the sport of football?
Wow. Start with the big ones. You know what? I kind of got into because my dad is very crazy about football. I think if I was anything other than a City fan, I'd have been out on the streets. There's no way I'd have been allowed in the house. I've got a few good mates whose dads are City fans, and they turned red to United. And when I was like 4 or 5, my dad made an example, being like, "Lloyd, if that was you, just to be clear, you're gone, son." So used to play to like an okay level when I was younger. Actually had a month playing for City's academy team, age 10 to 11, but then was let go. Went to like Blackburn, Bolton, Blackpool, all the crappy B teams in the north, and then quickly realised I wasn't going to be good enough. So very much just lent into kind of like the watching side, dabbled with a bit of journalism at kind of my younger years. But yeah, I mean, it's just, for me, it's the best sport. I follow a lot of other sports closely, but I think it's just the simplicity of football, and maybe kind of coming from the other side of the pond, you'll appreciate. It's just the low scoring nature of the sport is great. Obviously, there are so many American sports where the games can be crazy in terms of and we have that a bit here with cricket. But I just think like the kind of emotion that you can feel and generate from like just one goal or one moment is mental in football.
I'm with you. In my teenage years, for a decade or so, until I became a broken old man and retired, I used to play rugby as well. And second row and number 8.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
So I've always loved, the world culture. And from like an early age, I kind of realized America is not as great as we make it seem like. And so it's always been kind of an interesting thing. And I pay attention to NFL, basketball, blah, blah, blah. But City, just year after year, have taken most of my attention. And especially now that I do Shades of Blue, it's like, I love these sports. I'll watch the games. Like, obviously the Super Bowl is this Sunday. I'll be locked into that. Yeah. But really, it's like, until the playoffs come, I'm not really paying much attention to any of the American sports until we get to the playoffs, until the good stuff happens. Unless it's the team I support, then I'll try to watch as many games as possible. But I'm not going to rush, especially if like the team's not great or inconsistent. I'd much rather watch any other just football game in any other league, our Premier League, than watch like
really
NBA or anything like that. Yeah, I've really been trying to take in more of leagues outside of the Premier League, and that's been a really
that's a whole another job, bro. I mean, I struggle just to watch the Prem, but it's so much, isn't there?
I'm lucky here in America because we just lucky, I guess isn't the exact word. I'm able to watch so many different leagues, and every game is readily available. And it's like ESPN has these these leagues, and then Paramount Plus has these leagues, and Peacock then has the Premier League, and then there are a couple of just like random obscure leagues that you're able to watch free on certain apps and things like that. So yeah, if I'm ever bored and it's like too late, then yeah, I'll watch Liga MX or watch some like random European second league match just because it's on. And I'm just like, especially because the only other sport you can kind of compare the fanfare is college football here. College football, that's where it's like loud and people will legitimately hate other people just for the colors that they wear. And
love that.
I honestly, I love that too. Like when I learned that would not only was that okay, it was almost expected.
Encouraged.
Yes, exactly. Like your dad being like, yo, if you were a United fan, I don't know what you would have done to get to these games. And you're not the only person who has said that to me when I've had them on, especially non-Americans, where they're like, my parents told me that if I wanted to root this other team and not the family team, then not only would I have to find my own way there, I'm gonna have to pay my own way there. And like something like that is so, like in America, you'd be like, what? Really? But like, no, it's just like, you want to go against us, then you're on your own. And I love that. I love that so much. It's hilarious.
100%.
What is, it's to end overrated and underrated. Let's start with the overrated. What do you feel is overrated about football?
Tricky. I think the Prem at the moment is amazing in terms of like the quality and just like how the game has developed, like in terms of you've got a lot of different tactical approaches now. Guardiola's football's definitely changed it for a madness, but I do feel at the moment that just some of the it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to put your finger on. I think some of the nitpicking, like on social media, particularly amongst like the bigger fan bases, around like the point scoring, because it's weird. Because I'd say one of my underrated aspects is the rivalry. And I just think that is such a key part of football, particularly in the UK. But I think that the flip, particularly for like the bigger teams in the last year, just some of the just point scoring nastiness that's just like toxicity. I know you guys like have left Twitter and X, for example, just because there can be, absolute nonsense on there. I think some of that gets a bit silly. But it's hard. I don't think there's a lot that's particularly overrated about football. I think it is such a simple sport. The rules are quite simple. It's quite easy for people to grasp. It's low scoring. The quality at the moment, particularly in the Premier League, is just amazing. You've got like teams from basically anywhere in the league apart from the bottom two that can beat anyone. We've seen that this season because we've been terrible. So I don't think there's a lot at the moment that I would say is overrated. But yeah, I think that kind of pure nastiness between like Big Six fans, that irks me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, it's not a Big Six person, but I just had a Leighton Orient podcast on yesterday, and they mentioned City having to go into their changing room and using their changing room, and how like that would be such a big fall off. And they tagged me, and they were like, "Hey, here's someone shared a photo."
I've seen this. I saw this on Blue Sky. Yeah.
And then on Twitter, I called it a locker room because that's just what they're called in America. And someone from Orient fan was like, "It's called a changing room," and I was like, "My bad, I'm American. I call it a locker room." Like, oopsie daisy. Like, exactly. And then he just replied, "Where are the lockers?" And I was like, "Bro, are you daft? Like, I literally said my bad, and I call it a locker room in America. Can you just do one and leave me alone?" Like,
you're being polite as well.
Like, I mean, and again, that's the blue sky in me. the blue sky in me. 100%. Like, it took me like a week or so to like not feel like everybody was always dunking on me on Blue Sky. But now my vibe, now that I go, because I keep the Twitter account alive because I just make the posts. And there are still a couple of journos and accounts that I do enjoy that are still over
there.
there.
Yeah.
So but I don't try to dive in and have too many conversations. But then when there are people like that, it's just like, bro, this is why this is why people don't like Twitter. Like, obviously other than the Nazis and all that other stuff, but it's like just idiots like this. Like, what are you doing right now? Like, and he's probably having the best time coming at this stupid American City fan. And it's just like, bro, like, relax. It's not that serious.
Relax. I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
What do you feel is the best thing about being a Manchester City supporter?
God, there's so much. I would say for me, because it's a personal question, really, isn't it?
Of course, yes.
I think it's got to be the journey. And I know that's a word that people hate because it's like something you see on LinkedIn, people talking about their journey. But we were so bad when I started being a fan. So my first game that I went to was in the 2000 season. So it was after we'd been promoted from the third division then, 99, when Dickoff scored the goal. And we played, I think we played Norwich at home. And Danny Tiato got sent off very early. And I kind of remember, I think we conceded. I remember just looking at my dad being like, is this what I'm in for? I think I was like 5 at the time. And even though you're so young, that is one of the like most core memories I've got, because when you walk out, for the first time, you experience like a football ground for the first time. It's just like a mad experience, isn't it?
Yes.
So we were so bad, and we had the period where we then kind of had Stuart Pearce as manager, and I had season ticket that year. So I've had a season ticket since 2000, and we didn't score a goal at home from New Year's Day till the end of the season, 2005-06. And we were just so bad to watch. And then obviously the buyout with Taskin Shinawatra happened, and then we had Abu Dhabi, and like since then, obviously it's been mostly ups, very few downs. But it's just been like a mad journey, and it kind of felt like it almost hit its precipice in Istanbul when we went out there, and obviously got the job done. It was an amazing experience, amazing city. Like, people were so kind, and just so cool to be like with 20,000 City fans just in the city centre, just dicking around. So I would say it's the journey. And look, no doubt there'll be a time probably in 10 years where we're not as successful as we are now, but like that's how it rolls. We're not gonna be at the absolute peak forever. So that would be my answer.
I like that you still gave us 10 more years. I love that. There we go. So I originally became a fan in like 2002 when I was playing FIFA with a friend for the first time, and I was flipping through all the teams, and I hit the second division of English football, and I saw this team with a really cool eagle crest and stars, and it was Manchester City.
Kit.
Yes. And I was like, all I've ever heard of is Manchester United, and I knew I hated them because they were basically the Yankees, and I hate the Yankees. So that was like my first experience. I hit them, I clicked them. All their kits were so cool. Like, I love the sky blue. Sky blue is my favorite color. And then just all of the like retro kits, the black and white stripes, the black and red stripes. It was just like everything hit. And then I beat them down with SWP and Goater, and I was basically locked in from there.
There you go.
It was pretty tough, like seeing anything when I was a kid, because nobody around me like cared, but I would check the newspapers and see the scores and do things like that. And just year after year, I'd kind of get into it more and more. And then there were just like random video games that would come out that, would have City players on it and things like that. And I would always try to play with them. I got my first City kit on accident when I was in like they're called Marshalls, but it's like a discounted clothing store, whatever. Yeah. And yes, and so I was at a Cardinals game in St. Louis, and we were just killing time and went into the Marshalls, and it was just the City kit was just sitting there, and I was like,
probably for like $3.
yeah, it was like 10 something. And I was amazed. I was just like, oh my god, I was so hyped. And that was the beginning. And like I said, I've just tried to take it more and more seriously. There was a time where when I was playing rugby kind of was a little bit ahead because I was watching games to try to like learn and get better and things like that. Yeah,
Was it
is.
rugby union or rugby league? Presumably union.
Yes, rugby union.
Right.
Yes, yeah. The 4 or 5 try like that. Once that was introduced to me, that was a little. I still don't know how to feel about that. Like the stop go. Yeah, I love the intensity of just constantly smashing into somebody and the time not running out and things like that. Yeah, it's always good.
Love it.
Oh man, yeah. But being a City fan, I love how much they quickly understood with the new money how important it was to connect with the whole world. Really, like yes, USA and the money comes from USA. But seeing them even recently doing like the whole world tour and the Asia tour and all these other things, like them realizing and trying to, obviously all the money and blah, 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 that helps, but not every team is doing all of that. I have a buddy, he's a Brentford fan in New York, and he runs the supporters group out there. And he's told me they've gotten a lot better. But the first time that